Alright guys, today I'm going to be installing the Z1 Big Brake Track Kit on my 2014 Infiniti Q50. This video is going to be for how to install the front ones. I myself also have to see how to do it since I've never done this before, so I got Z1's instructions up. I haven't seen anyone post anything about installing these on a Q50 specifically, so hoping this will help somebody out. Alright, so I'm going to start by removing the front caliper and the rotor. With this kit, you are required to have the stainless steel brake lines, which I already have. I installed them a while ago, so just a heads up. I won't be showing that in this video, but I will be showing the rest of the install. So, when we get started, I'm going to start by taking these brake pads out. Alright. And just a tip, the easiest way to always work on brakes is to make sure you got the wheel all the way turned towards you, so you can easily access everything, the caliper, pads, bolts, etc. And taking these brake pads out of the Akibono calipers on the sport models actually not that hard. You'll see a little clip here holding in the pin, and another one down here. I just get a pick and pull them out. God only knows how many times I've done this now. Do that. And then we'll get these pins out of here. Okay. You kind of just want to get like a Phillips head or something that'll just kind of fit in there so you can push the pin out. And if you struggle with it, you can get a hammer and lightly tap your screwdriver. So that's one. Got that about halfway out. This bottom one, do the same thing. About halfway out. Now, I should be able to pull it out with my hand, the rest of it. If not, it's kind of hard to show on the camera. I'll just push this down in the middle. That'll take the tension off of it, and then I can use my other hand to pull that pin out. So that's exactly what I did. Just to show you again, you just put your finger right here and push down on that, and then that'll take the tension off the pin. You can take your other hand and pull it all the way out. And I'm going to do the same right here. Alright, got my pins out, taking my clip out over here, and then I'll compress my piston in. I try to cheat every time and kind of get a screwdriver and kind of press it back to get the piston to retract a little bit, just so these pads come out relatively easy. Okay, got my brake pads out, just the old ones. Now I'm going to take the caliper bolts out. Alright guys, and to get the caliper off the bracket, it's a 22 millimeter. Easiest way to get these off quick without fighting and struggling, in my opinion, if you have a 1/2 inch impact driver, makes your life 1,000 times easier. Okay, got my caliper off, just set that aside. Probably should have took the brake line off, but just kind of waiting. I think I could get myself a pan to put under there and that'll make a mess all over the place. But anyway, next, take the rotor off. In my case, I just had these off not that long ago. I just rebuilt them not that long ago. They're Z1 2-piece rotors, but mine will come right off. I don't got to hit it with a hammer or anything. You may have to give yours a couple taps to get them off. Alright, got my rotor off. Another suggestion that I always make is if you want to clean your hub off like a wire brush, get all the debris off of it and make sure this is nice and smooth and there's no chunks of anything in there. That sometimes can cause a vibration when you put a new rotor. I also think I'm just going to leave my caliper somewhere in a good spot, not there obviously, until I go to swap the line onto the new Z1 track caliper, because I just don't want too much brake fluid to drip out, and I don't want the master to run dry, and I also don't want to have to run and add fluid every so often, or I'll forget. So that's just what I do. You don't have to, but just a word of advice. Alright, so now I just got my old caliper for now, bungee corded to the shock so that ain't going nowhere. Now I'm going to go get my adapter for the caliper and install that. Alright, and here is the bracket adapter for the new caliper. So it says to use your original bolts to initially install it. So the ones you just took out, them two for the caliper. We're going to put this on here and put them in the back and tighten it up. Alright guys, so I'm just starting to put the bolts in for this bracket. And now what I'm seeing that I don't like is the backing plate kind of is overlapping that bracket, the new bracket, which I don't really know if it's a big deal or not. But I think what I'm going to do is just take my angle grinder and just cut it to where it doesn't hit it at all. Because I also think once you get the new rotor on here, I think you're going to have to actually bend this back so it doesn't hit the new track rotor, which is a lot bigger than the OEM one that came on this car. And I don't think I'll be able to bend it back if it's going to be hitting this anyway. But that's just what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to do that now. Alright, so I took my angle grinder over here, my cutting disc, and I cut just a little chunk off. And now you can see that it clears the backing plate. So if I do have to bend that back, it should be no problem. Now would I take it all the way off? Not really. It's just something I wouldn't do. It wouldn't make me feel comfortable. And on top of that, you have to take the hub out. And I don't feel like doing that. And if I'm taking the wheel hub out, I might as well just put a new one. So not even going to bother. Alright guys, so I'm actually going to try to be smart about this so no one else has to suffer. So I'm test fitting the new rotor from the track kit. And I just want to make sure that the backing plate is not touching anything. Or at least I got some good clearance. I might have to bend it back a little bit, but I don't think much. I'll let you know in a second. Alright guys, so I had a suspicion that I'd probably have to make another modification, and the only part of the backing plate that hits is right here. So I'm just gonna slice that off and that'll be it, and it should clear. So I was able to get the bottom to clear. I'll just bend it back, see if you can see. Yeah, pretty sure that's good. So alright, get the angle grinder and cut that little ear off, and I should be good to go. Alright guys, so here we go. I took my angle grinder and I cut that ear off flush, so that's not going to hit the rotor anymore. So 3 modifications in my opinion you're going to need for this back plate. Cut here, you have clearance here for the bracket. Cut down here, you'll have clearance for the bracket. And just this ear. Again, this is for the sport model with the Akebono brakes. I don't know about the backing plate on the Q50 with the standard regular base model premium brakes. I'm not sure, but for this one, that's what you're going to need to do. Alright guys, and according to Z1, you want to torque this bracket, the 2 bolts in the back, to 98 foot-pounds, which is what I have my torque wrench set at. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten them 2 now. Alright guys, and another thing I was trying to determine was which rotor goes on which side. And after taking a close look at the rotors, it looks like it has one that has an R on there and one that has an L. So I'm going to assume that R means right and left me and L means left. So that's what I'm going to go with. I want to put this one with the R on the front passenger side. Just another thing to keep in mind, because I know like these vents in the middle, they do need good airflow and they need to be on the right side, the correct side that is. So just a heads up. I didn't see anything in the instructions about that, but maybe I missed it. And before you install these, make sure, like with any brake job, you take some brake clean, spray all around the disc on both sides, and dry it off with a cloth, so you get all the protective material or whatever the manufacturers throw on these before they get shipped out. Alright, so got the new rotor on, the one that has an R. Currently working on the passenger side. Put a lug nut on there to keep it nice and straight and not wobbly. Turned it. I made sure it wasn't hitting the backing plate. Confirm that once you remove that little nipple, whatever you want to call it, that it's got clearance. So I turned it. Backing plate's not hitting. I'm now going to get ready to put the new caliper on. And these are the same rotors that the R35 GTR has, so I'm expecting this vehicle, when I stop hard, to send me out the windshield and into the next zip code, so I'm pretty excited about that. Okay guys, and right now I'm just prepping my bolts for the front caliper. I'm just going to get my bolts and put the washers on them and get them ready to go in. Alright guys. And for one rotor, it's going to be 2 big bolts with 1 skinnier bolt. Make sure to get the washers on there. Alright guys, it's coming along. So looking pretty nice. So I got the caliper on, and these here are 10mm Allen type socket. So this is what you need. Right here. The torque specifications are 74 foot-pounds for these two. Unfortunately, I don't have a 3/8 torque wrench, so I'm just going to use common sense here and not over-tighten them on my ratchet. So I'm going to do that now. And also, guys, before I forget, make sure that whenever you put a new caliper on, that the bleeder screws are at the top. That's how you know you got the right one on the right side. You cannot have the bleeder screws at the bottom, because you'll never be able to bleed the system and you're going to have a bad time. Trust me, I've learned from experience. Alright guys, I'm getting ready to tighten the final bolt here. This is a 13mm. According to Z1, the torque specs 18 foot-pounds. Again, I don't have a 3/8 ratchet torque wrench, so I'm just going to use common sense judgment on this one. Alright guys, so I'm going to get ready to prep to put the new brake pads in. I gotta take these 2 pins out. This is a 13mm as well, so I'm going to get them out now. Okay, got them out, and I put them to the side. Alright guys, and on the new brake pad, I just went ahead and put some grease on the side here, each side, and on the backing plate. Alright, and they just slid in nice and easy. I got to just about that point to where this hole here will line up with the brake pad hole. Alright guys, next step, according to Z1, is to put the pins I just took out and throw them back in. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I got my pins back in. Now the next step is to put this clip up just like that. So that sits where the holes are at, so you can slide your pin in. And then you want to take your pin, stick it behind there, and kind of work it through the holes. You gotta get them to line up. It's not too hard, you might have to wiggle some stuff. Pull some stuff up. And then once you get it lined up here, you can start to tap it with a hammer. But once the pin's lined up with this hole. And this will be the end result right here. Make sure that's flush in there all the way through. Then I'm going to repeat this process on the bottom one. So I'm going to get my clip out. Put it down there and do the same thing. Alright guys, and this is the end result. Brake pads are in. So my last step is I'm just going to put my brake line onto the new caliper, and I'm going to make sure it's straight, curved correctly, there's no twists or kinks or anything. Definitely don't want that, that'll cause a big problem. So I'm going to do that now. Alright guys, and here's the final completed project. Well, I'll still have to do the other side, but it's pretty straightforward. Same thing as this side. So just follow the same procedure. There's just a quick overview. Brake pads in. Got my stainless steel brake line in. Got it tightened up. I turned it all the way to the other side and all the way back to make sure that that line doesn't twist, kink, or anything, and it stays just like that, which is just the way that I want it. So hope this video helps you guys, and thanks for watching. And guys, just also before I forget, just want to let everyone know that these big track brakes from Z1, they do clear the 19-inch Sport Infiniti wheels, so if you have them, you're good to go. Not sure about the other ones. And also, when you're done doing these, you will have to bleed the brakes. I'll be making a separate video on that because there is a very strict procedure to do that, so if you need to know, stay tuned.